We are happy to have a very distinguished guest, and it's going to be quite an insightful session today. So this is a series, the first series for the year, and we're happy about it. It comes to you live from the chamber of UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce in partnership with WTS Noblesfields. By way of introduction, my name is Theophilus Keria. I am the managing partner for WTS Noblesfields. I'm also a law lecturer at the UPSA Law School, where I've been teaching and researching in business law, tax law, financial services, and tort law. And my background stems from being a lawyer, being a tax practitioner, and these are work I do on a daily basis. So it's a very good conversation we're going to have. Today, we are very privileged to have the CEO of Minerals Commission to share his insight with us on issues concerning sustainability, licensing, compliance in the mining sector. So I will introduce him briefly, and I'll give him the floor to give us his thoughts on the matters that I've just described. So Mr. Martin Kweku-Isi is a lawyer. He has over 22 years experience in the mining sector, oil and gas law and policy. He's been actively involved in mining and the petroleum sector in West Africa, East Africa, and has been assisting in the development of mining strategies and regulatory system in this part of our world, particularly in the governance of it, in the extractive sector. He was a consultant on the sector policy in terms of legal and regulatory reform for the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining of Kenya from 2014 to 2028. He also served as a consultant on the extractive sector for Oxford Policy on Management. He has worked for GIZ, Adam Smith International, UNESCO, IDLO, ISSD, among others, and he regularly speaks of mining and oil and gas laws and policies across the world. He joined the Minerals Commission in April 2022 as a lawyer, and he's gone through the rank and became a board member of the Minerals Commission in 2017 and later deputy CEO. And in March 2021, he was made a substantive CEO of the Minerals Commission. So by way of qualification, he has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Geography, Resource Development, and he majored in Political Science from University of Ghana. He has an LLM from Calgary in Canada, another LLM in Mineral Law from University of Dundee in Scotland, and a Master's in Public Administration from University of Ghana. He's authored several publications, and he is also a board member of the Minerals Development Fund, the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, and Ghana's Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation. So, Mr. Isi, we are very happy to have you. You have all that it takes to give us an insightful perspective on compliance, licensing, and sustainability in the mining space. We have the floor. It's 30 minutes, and I'll ask the questions after that.
Theo, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to join you. I'm very happy to be part of this, your well-organized program. And thanks for putting this together. I don't need to introduce myself. You've just given a summary about the person. And let me just start by saying that as far as the mining sector is concerned, we have a different architecture. It starts with our constitution, which says that when it comes to managing the natural resources of this country, they have to be done through commissions. So that's how come we have Forestry Commission, Fisheries Commission, Petroleum Commission, Energy Commission, and that kind of stuff. Indeed, our system has worked so well that, as you speak, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, and now Zambia, even South Africa, have all modeled their legal framework on the Ghanaian style. Other than that, across most jurisdictions and across Africa, they basically regulate through the ministry. So we have the Minerals Commission that has been around for 40 years. 40 years. Now, essentially, this is what we do. As I said, we are a creature of the Constitution. So our primary role, and we have a whole law that sets us up, the Minerals Commission Act. At the appropriate time, I can share it, Act 450, 1993. But earlier, we had PNDC Law 154. That's why I could trace it all the way to 40 years and not 1993. Primarily, what we do is to regulate and manage the mineral resources of this country. Broadly, that's what the commission is set up to do. Regulate and manage the utilization. So it is not a joke. To repeat, to regulate and manage the utilization of the mineral resources of Ghana. So under that, what we do practically every day is to receive and process various applications, authorizations, or permits to allow any person to conduct activity, primarily in two ways: either to explore for a mineral or do the extraction itself. So that's what we do. Later on, I'll get into the licensing process. So we receive and process applications. We don't grant. The sole authority to grant, revoke, and approve any authorization to allow anybody to explore or mine a mineral is the responsibility of the minister responsible for mines. In the case of Ghana, the designation is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. So what we do on the first role I've indicated is to receive, review, process, and recommend to the minister. So contrary to the information out there, Minerals Commission, we don't grant licenses. We recommend. It's a minister that grants and revokes. But then I also want you to put it out there that there is no way the minister can also grant, refuse, or revoke a license unless he obtains an advice from the Minerals Commission. If you look at Section 100 of the Minerals and Mining Act of 2006. So that is point number one, receiving and processing applications. Number two, we also formulate and recommend policies to the government. It doesn't matter whichever government is in power. So we formulate and recommend policies to the government, having regard to national priorities and the priorities of whoever is in government. So for instance, our current mining policy is 2014. That's about almost at least 11 years old now. Typically, a policy should be changed every 5 years. So NDC having come to power, they have their manifesto. We are now trying to change our policy, to suit whatever they want to do. So that is it. So we also recommend and formulate policy. And then, of course, after the licenses have been granted by the minister, what next? Do you go to sleep? No. We now come in and ensure that whatever agreement that has been given to you, whether it's a license, permit, whatsoever, has certain terms and conditions. So our job now is to go to the ground and make sure that whatever has been approved for you, if it's a prospecting license in your web program, you are following it. You're spending the money, you are doing the geological investigation. And then if you have in the case of an extraction right, which is a mining lease, that you are mining, following all the health and safety rules. So across Ghana, we have district offices, we have regional offices, staffed with what we call mining inspectors. An inspector primarily is a trained official of the commission, whether from a metallurgical point of view, mechanical, from machine and electrical, or mining engineer, who goes to the mine and ensure that all the health and safety standards are being followed. Primarily just to make sure that there are no accidents. So we have to go there and monitor and ensure compliance with not only the mining laws and accompanying regulations, but also the terms and conditions of their license, permits, authorization. So we review licenses and recommend processing to the minister to be granted. We ensure compliance by monitoring the operations of the mining companies to ensure they are meeting all the standards. We also recommend enforcement policies to the government to be adopted, having regard to national priorities. And what we also do is that from time to time, the way the governance structure of government is structured, we do receive directives and policy instructions from the minister. So they say, look, we've gone to a cabinet meeting, government has decided to do X, Y, Z. Can you please take note and implement them? So that takes me to the last point. Primarily, we also are supposed to implement the policies of the government in the mining sector. So whatever the current government that came into power 7th January has for the mining sector, our duty is to implement it and support the minister to do same. If we are having challenges, we go back and tell them, this is not working, or take this, change this, etc. So it's quite a very huge mandate. And then we also, from time to time, ask government to also change the rules. So sometimes we draft regulations and then request that the laws will also be changed to deal with emerging trends, new policies, etc. So broadly, that's by way of our mandate. We have a board, which is 9-member, inclusive the CEO. They are all appointed by the president. Now, as we speak, because of our laws, effective 7th January, we don't have the board. So I'm sure, having put the Council of State in place now, very soon, an 8-member board will be appointed. If you are the chief executive, that becomes 9. So that is by way of how our Minerals Commission is set out. Now, in terms of the kind of mineral rights that are granted, you see, in our law, what is known to the law is what we call mineral rights. Now, mineral rights are in 2 categories. So for now, you forget about these license, permits, and stuff for now. What is known to Ghana's law is the term mineral rights. So what is a mineral right? A mineral right is essentially an authorization, approval, however you want to call it, that is granted by the minister responsible for mines, acting on the recommendation of the Minerals Commission, to any person, Ghanaian or foreigner, depending on what right it is, to either explore for a mineral or mine it. And it can happen on 2 scales. So that's when I'll get into the term, the use of licenses now. So broadly, the term in Ghana is mineral rights. So you hear people saying concessions. Okay, that's fine. You can call it concession, but in the law, it's mineral rights. Now it's on 2 levels, large scale and small scale. Now the large scale, we have the ones that are granted merely for exploration. Reconnaissance, which is for a year. You can't do it more than 2 years. It's not intrusive. Airborne survey, those basic stuff. And then prospecting. Then you can convert your reconnaissance to prospecting. By far, reconnaissance is not common. I don't think I can have even 10 reconnaissance licenses today. By far, most people go for prospecting, which is essentially what allows you to explore for a mineral. It can be granted for any period up to 3 years. I'll tell you what is required. Then, having prospect for a while, if you find something, then you submit a feasibility that you have found, let's say, 1 million ounces. I want to mine 100,000 ounces a year. And for that matter, I'm looking for a lease of 10 years. We'll come to that. And then we can give you, let's say, a 12-year lease. You mine for 10 years, and then we make some room for, what do you call it, reclamation. So you have the large scale, which are 3: reconnaissance license, prospecting license, and a mining lease. So you see where the term license and lease come in. This is open to a Ghanaian or a foreigner. But for you to be able to hold a large-scale mineral right, whether for reconnaissance, prospecting, or mining, you should incorporate a company in Ghana. Who the shareholders are, it doesn't matter. It could be 100% owned. So a group of UK guys or whatever can come in, incorporate a company locally, and apply for a mineral right, either to do reconnaissance, prospect, or mine. The second, so that is the first category. So there are 3 licenses or leases, as you may call them, under the first category, large scale. Then you now have the small scale. The small scale is restricted to Ghanaians. You just have to be a Ghanaian and to just be an adult. That's all. They are not required to submit a work program or whatever. So you have large scale and small scale. Small scale mining license. You know, that's it. You don't have anything like exploration or reconnaissance for small scale. You understand? So small scale mining license, and then you have the reconnaissance license, prospecting license, all the lease. So whether it is for reconnaissance, whether it is for prospecting, whether it's for mining, or whether it's for a small scale, all these, if you like, 5 types of authorizations or permits that could be granted are collectively called mineral rights. If you like, you can use the common term that everybody uses on the street, concessions. So the term is concession is not used, is not known to our law. But when you say concession, the person is basically telling you whatever authorization he has. Now, each of it has its own requirements. If you want to prospect, by far, about 90% of the mineral rights are in that category, by far. If you want to prospect, as I said, you have to be a locally incorporated company. Prospecting license, it will interest you to know that about 90% of the prospecting licenses are held by Ghanaians. Locally incorporated, nothing stops a foreigner from coming to incorporate a company and apply for it. And primarily, apart from being locally incorporated, you know, there are some basic things you should have. Being registered for VAT, you know, having SNIT and all those. That is done everywhere. Tax clearance certificate. Those are basics. It's everywhere. But there are 2 key things we will require from Minerals Commission, apart from those basic general tax things that anybody requires. You can't do any business in UK without having a tax ID or whatever. So those are basics everywhere. 2 things. What are those 2 things? You must submit a work program. A work program, okay? The work program must contain those 2 things. The work program will detail the kind of geological work you want to undertake. And also it has to be costed. So we'll do the review. And then once we are satisfied that, yes, you meet the requirements of the law, we'll do a recommendation to the minister. And you can be granted a prospecting license up to any period 3 years. Typically, it's 3 years, which is renewable. It can be renewed for another 3 years if we are satisfied that you have met the terms and conditions of the initial term. And you must submit an application for a renewal at least 90 days before the expiry of the initial term. That is how it is like. And once the license is granted by the minister, not later than 2 weeks at the end of every quarter, you are supposed to submit a report to the Minerals Commission online. The report showing essentially 2 things: the work you are doing and the money you are spending. That is it. So then it's up to our exploration geologists to go out there and confirm that, yes, within the last quarter, Tio Mining Company or Tia Mining Company did stream sediment, pitching, trenching, and indeed spend this money. It is our job to check that, because you see, eventually when you get into mining, all these exploration expenditures are capitalized and the state must refund them back to you. So we also don't want a situation where you'll be filing 10 cedis or $10 when you have actually spent 5 cedis. And if you don't meet the terms, we can issue a notice to show cause why your license should not be taken. We do that from time to time. Now, having explored for a while, the unfortunate thing is that under Ghana's law, you can keep renewing your prospecting licenses, provided you keep meeting the requirements. I think we are the only country, perhaps in the world, in Africa, I know that for sure in Africa because I've worked widely, that don't have a limit to the number of times you can hold a prospecting license. We've done a review of the law, so we are likely to restrict it to 9 years. So what is common in Africa, you see 5-3, 5, 3-3-3, 3-2-2, 4-3-1, etc. We intend to do 3-3-3. What do I mean by that? You are giving the initial term 3 years, we'll renew for another 3 years, and then second renewal and no more. The reason or rationale for bringing a limit to the number of years you can hold a prospecting license is to ensure that people work. So you use it or lose it. We are the only country in Africa, so we're going to stop that. Now, having worked for a while and found something. So, okay, I prospected this area for a while. I think I've been able to define or proved gold of, let's say, 1 million ounces, then now you are required to submit a feasibility report. So you cannot be granted a mining lease when you don't submit a feasibility report. Now we have a standard or a template for it, what must go into the feasibility. But primarily what I found, the method I'll use, environmental, I mean, it could be thick as thick as a PhD thesis. We'll do the review. It's a team that reviews it, economics, environmentalists, geologists, etc. Once we are satisfied, then we recommend to the minister to grant you a mining lease. Now, a mining lease could be granted up to any period of 30 years. We intend to bring the upper limit down. Now, the number of years you will get depends on what you tell us in our feasibility. So if you tell us that you found 1 million ounces, you intend to mine 100,000 ounces every year. So basically, that's about 10 years. We might end up giving you like a 12-year lease, or let's say maybe 15. The additional 2-3 years we are adding is to provide room for reclamation. Now, if you have a mining lease and it's granted to you, nothing stops you from exploring the property as you mine. In fact, that's how come life of mine is extended. You don't need any additional right again. So, for example, Newmont they have these 4 contiguous mining leases put together. And then I remember when I was a young lawyer, they started producing in 2006. Then they keep doing aggressive exploration within their concession. And they found something great. Today, it could even be a standalone mine. So in about 6 months, we'll commission a new big gold mine, what we call Ahafo North. So exploration doesn't end simply because you've been granted a mining lease. Other than that, Obuasi, our first large-scale gold mine, 1897, will still not be around for 126 years. So all the large-scale producing mines, Tarkwa Goldfields, Iduapriem, Obuasi, Newmont Achim, Newmont Ahafo, now Cardinal, and Co., they keep exploring the property as a mine. To repeat, they don't need any special right to do that. Now, there's something I'm coming to next. If you are giving your small-scale license, or your prospecting license, or reconnaissance, or your mining lease, you have to now take that document and go to the Environmental Protection Authority and go and apply for an environmental permit. You get that? Apply for an environmental permit. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
You go for an environmental permit. Typically, prospecting, small scale, and reconnaissance licenses are not that, the environmental conditions are not that stringent because you are not mining. A little bit of more tougher measures are put in the case of prospecting because you might end up doing drilling, you trench or you pit. So you might do some excavations. But in the case of the mining lease, it is not just a walk in the park. It has to be properly done. You have to do public hearing, there will be criticisms, etc., before it is finally issued. So your lease first, your environmental permit, then you come back to Minerals Commission and see the Chief Inspector of Mines. Then we'll now issue to you an operating permit. Operating permit. Operating permit. So you need the lease, you need the mineral rights, you need the operating permit, and then you need the environmental permit. So these are the 3 authorizations. Now, it's important you hear this. For mineral rights, now when I use mineral rights, you know now. For mineral rights that are issued for exploration, such as reconnaissance or prospecting, it doesn't need to go to Parliament for ratification. Because in our Constitution, there's this Article 268 which says that any right, transaction, or contract that is granted to any person to extract a mineral. Extraction is mining, not prospecting. It has to go to Parliament for ratification. So it means that once you are granted a mining lease, having prospect for some number of years and be granted a mining lease, you have to go to Parliament for ratification. It has to be taken to Parliament by the minister. If you look at Kenyan's law, where I worked on, in their constitution. I think Ghana and Kenya are the only countries in the world that have this provision in their constitution. So Kenya has modeled their law on our own, except that they have gone further to do regulation to impose a time limit within which a minister must go to parliament. We don't have that. So we are the mining companies, for example, are the mercy of the government. This is something we need to look at. So it means that for any mining company that has been granted a mineral right to mine a mineral or extract a mineral, you need 4 authorizations. The lease properly so called. 2, another authorization, the lease has to be ratified by Parliament. Another authorization, you need to have an environmental permit from the EPA. And the last one, you come back to my chief inspector of mines who issue you an operating permit. Without these 4 authorizations, if you go to the ground to go and dig the stuff without the permission of the Minerals Commission, for whatever reason, you are involved in illegal mining. Illegal mining. That is it. Those with prospecting and reconnaissance, they don't need to go for ratification because their mineral right is not for extraction. It is purely exploratory. So that is that in terms of the various types of rights, etc. Small-scale licenses are issued for 5 years and is renewable. As I said, it's mainly for Ghanaians, and that is it. Now, we have by far one of the strictest and most robust local content law, if you like, in the world. In Africa, nothing compares, which is enforced rigidly. So we have an LI 2431 of 2020. I can share all these things. We have them in stock. We can share later on so that you give it to people who are online. And in there, the law gives the power to the Minerals Commission every year to do a review of goods and services that, in the wisdom of the Minerals Commission, we think, or we are of the view that should be acquired locally. So we normally come out with a local content list. I gave a copy to Miss Lai when she was living here. If she's Mrs. Lai, then I'm sorry. So we have all the way from the 1st to the 6th edition. So beautiful. I have it in soft, so I can email or WhatsApp after the program if I get your number, but I can send you to the email that you use for the invitation of this program. The current edition is the 6th edition. You can see at the back here, which came into force this year.
Okay.
In there, you have about 51 items. You know, what does that mean? The law requires that every mining company must give us a procurement plan, a 5-year procurement plan. Many of them submitted their 5-year procurement plan last year. You have to do it. Now, in the procurement plan, when you are doing it, you have to have regard to the local content law. So you have to tell us these 51 items, which ones you are going to procure locally, how much, and which one you are trying to import. Now, if you go to the items, I mean, more than half are exclusively meant for Ghanaians. It's all part of the attempt to indigenize the sector and make sure that as much as possible, many of these things are done locally. So, for example, when it comes to, let's say, medical services, practically every mine have medical services for their staff, their spouses, and kids. So Newmont like this, you can talk about almost 10,000 people on their medical facilities. They filed this report, so we know. You go to their site, their clinics and hospitals there, very well equipped, sometimes even more equipped than public hospitals. So they have all kinds of doctors and specialists and allied professionals who are working there. And our local content law says that you cannot give that contract to a foreign company. Why are we doing that? Because we don't understand why you should give a contract to a foreign company when all the doctors and all the lab techs and all the allied health officials are locally procured. Because you cannot bring a doctor from UK to come and work in Ghana unless you did a convention. It's the same like our profession in law. You cannot just get up and go and start practicing law in UK when you don't go and do their whatever they call it, BPC or whatever. I don't know whether they still have those names. That's how it works. So this is available on our website. The same thing. Many of the mining companies give out the contract for the actual mining to be done. Essentially, drill, blast, load, and haul. They give it out. And our law, you have to give it to a Ghanaian. So in the list, you see 3 things. Areas exclusively reserved for Ghanaians. That is, the companies must be 100% Ghanaian shareholders and directors. Areas that are open, anybody can come in and do it. With time, with capacity, we might impose some restriction. It's a way of indigenizing the sector. And then areas where there are some percentages or quotas. So for example, if you want to do underground mining, you want to give it to a contractor, we accept the fact that it is quite capital intensive, etc. So we allow a JV 50-50. Okay, so you can go and bring an Australian company or a company from UK and say, want to do this together and bid for a contract. Areas like security, catering are solely restricted for Ghanaians. So if you go to all the mining companies, they have private security protecting their site all the way to the gold room. All those contracts have been given to Ghanaians who run all these things. So by far, that is it. And you cannot provide any service or any job to any mining company in Ghana unless you are registered by the Minerals Commission. And we have various categories or classes. So that is it. I'll share all this documentation so that those who are listening to us, if they want follow-up documents, you can share with them, and then they can send email to me for further explanations. And then let me also wind up with Galamsey, which has been a nightmare. Huge nightmare, not peculiar to Ghana. Illegal money is found all over the world. In Amazon, you see it in Colombia, Peru, practically every African country, etc. We have by far the biggest ASM sector for gold, if you like, in the world. Last year, for example, the total production official from small scale or ASM, as it's popularly called, was 2.2 million ounces. That's about $4.6 billion. More than the entire total production of gold from Tanzania that did 56 tons. 56 tons is barely 2 million ounces. And it has about 3 million people involved. We were the first to formalize, or if you like, legalize ASM in Africa, 1989. Something that was taking place in 5 regions. Now you're talking about 12 regions. So that is it. And the bulk of it is done illegally. When we say, essentially, when you say illegal mining, it means that the person is involved in mining that he has not obtained the appropriate authorization or approval for it. So that is it. We have close to almost about 2,000 or so persons who have licenses, and small-scale licenses can be granted to individuals, cooperatives, or a group of people. We don't allow foreigners, but for some reason, foreigners have found themselves involved. Particularly, these are brothers from China and also many of the guys from sub-region. It's a huge issue. Trust me, the 2.2 million ounces of gold officially reported should have been 3-4 times that. A lot of it is smuggled. And I think the solution is to remove the incentives that allows for smuggling. So you heard the finance minister on Tuesday saying that I'm removing the tax, the withholding tax on that. And I think that will help a lot because that means that they beat the system. So that is that. There are a lot of things that government has rolled up to fight this illegal mining. Part of it is to put a lot of money in geological investigation. I always say that the solution, medium to long term, is geological investigation. There are so many blocks that the Minerals Commission has blocked out and designated as areas to be given to the small-scale miners, but they need to be investigated. The small-scale people don't do exploration, so the state will have to do it. Fortunately, there's a government institution that has a capacity to do it, Ghana Geological Survey Authority, but they will need money to do that. And I think it is in the budget this year that they will find money for them to be able to do that. If you ask me, that is the solution, because what is causing the nasty and ugly stuff we're seeing all over, digging everywhere. But then if you can know where the gold is, then you can push them in the form of cooperatives there. Other than that, currently what we do is that they bring their own coordinates, we do it for them. The areas that have been cancelled, we give it out for the small-scale miners, or areas that after 3 years of prospecting, you relinquish your data, we also block it out. Or areas that the large scale people think that, oh, okay, we want to help the process, so we are relinquishing this area. So you go to Pesos Mining, large scale Australian company in central region. There's an area with about 5,000 artisanal miners on part of their concession. They have voluntarily decided to give it to us. So we'll license it for them. So these are some of the things that we are doing. We're bringing in mercury-free machines to give it to them so that they stop the use of mercury, which is killing us. So I would like to end here, and then I think I've done exactly 30 minutes so that people can ask questions if they have any. So that is it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isi, for such an insightful insight on the mining regulations and compliance issue. The bit that I would want you to talk a bit more will be on the compliance bit. I mean, we'll look at the mining rights, we'll look at the processes in getting a business running. I mean, getting an approval from Parliament and stuff like that. But what are the ongoing obligations for, let's say, some of the mining leads and have obtained all the approvals and this operation?
Come again?
What are the obligations, compliance obligation for someone who has a license from the Minerals Commission?
So, for instance, in the lease or the license, we have templates, samples we can share. What they are supposed to do is first to carry out the geological investigations as per your approved program. Okay, so every prospecting license has attached to it a work program. What you do in year 1, year 2, year 3. So that is one of the issues you're supposed to do. So our job, the inspectors, the regulator, our job is to make sure that we go out to the field there to make sure they are doing the work, that you are filing the report to reflect what is being done. So that is one of the key issues. In fact, that is so fundamental. When it comes to mining, you're supposed to deploy the appropriate technology to be able to extract the mineral and ensure that competent persons man them. So it is the same in the medical or legal field. You don't just get up and be appointed to the Supreme Court or Court of Appeal or High Court. You must have some level of practice, some level of experience. You'll be able to get there. The same thing. A GP cannot get up and perform certain kind of surgeries. No, you're not a specialist. There's a limit to what you can do. So in the mine, there are certain competencies that must be. So for example, you go to the typical mine, large scale, you must have a mine manager. You have to take certain exams beyond what the mining engineer you have done in school. And there are exams we set which you have to pass. It's like this IC18 or ACC, level 1, level 2, or whatever, for you to become a chartered accountant. You know all those. It's the same thing in the mine. It's heavily regulated because the slightest mistake, there will be accident. We have a lot of underground mines. So the guys in charge of machinery, electrical processing plant, we call them metallurgists or chemists or processors as they are called in Australia, they have to be certified. And you have to employ all these people. And Minerals Commission will have to certify them and issue them certification to ensure that they have what it takes to run the mine. So when we enter the mine, when an inspector from Minerals Commission, EPA, enters the mine, realize that persons who are mining the various roads are not competent. Either the mine is being shut down or a heavy fine. So we know. So for example, at Minerals Commission, we have on file how many workers are working at Newmont. Let's say 4,000. How many are engineers? How many are certified? Who is the mine manager? Who is in charge of the processing plant? Who is in charge here? Who is in charge here? Whether has the various competencies. So we have all these things. It's all part of the compliance process. So compliance, one is to ensure that he's doing what he's supposed to do as per his work program, or if he's a mining, is what we call program of mining operations. 2, compliance also means he has a competent persons approved and certified by the Minerals Commission that they can occupy the various roles. And then that is on the side of the mining company. And then on the side of the Minerals Commission, our job is to go out there to the mine, go out to the field and ensure that The guy is actually following the rules. He's doing the prospecting, he's pitting, he's trenching, and following the way he should do it. He's not destroying the environment. The community is being protected. If it's an underground mine, the shafts are in proper place, health and safety signs are properly placed, etc. Or else you have accidents. And then I also have to make sure that I have the right competent officials and persons that have what it takes to do it. And I'm not boasting. As we speak to you, we have 50 engineers who are studying abroad in the finest engineering schools in the world. So I have 16 engineers in Australia studying in Curtin, which is a top-notch school for mining engineering and number 2 in the world. I have some in US is 20. Now, it's not just going to go and do the masters in mining engineering or metallurgy. When they finish, we allow them to work in the mines 2-3 years before they come back. So as I speak to you, the biggest gold complex in the world is Nevada Gold, owned jointly by Newmont and Barrick, incidentally, the 2 biggest producers of gold in the world. I have 2 staffs that are working there. They finished school 2 years ago. One went to Colorado, one went to New Mexico Tech. They are working underground. We'll keep them there 3 years. This summer, 3 are going there. They are South Dakota. They'll go there 3 months. When they finish their program next year, they go and work 3 years. So I'm building an institution where my vision is that at West, my engineers, whether metallurgy, chemists, mining engineers, have better knowledge than the engineers at the mines. And that's what we are doing, because Newmont itself, they're not taking their engineers to Nevada and Co. So you mentioned Northern Star, you mentioned BHP, you mentioned Nevada Gold Mines, you mentioned Freeport-McMoRan. I have staff working there, both men and women. In Canada, there are 3, they are all working underground. So in about 2 years' time, many of these people will start returning. Such is the comprehensive nature of our training program that you now have these young boys and girls at the mines living and joining Minerals Commission in droves. I don't pay the kind of money they pay though. So we are also getting ready and improving the technical skills and knowledge of our officers in the area of robotics, AI, which is already being used in the mine, machine learning, and code. So we are also not sleeping. We generate our own budget. This year, for example, my budget is $50 million. I have to raise it. I don't get a CD or a dollar from the government. So that is the state of the play. And by far, I can say that we have the most comprehensive training program in the mining sector or even in any public institution in Ghana. So that is how we too, on our side, are doing our work. Because look, you have the biggest producer of gold in the world in Ghana here, number 1. You have number 5, Gold Fields. You have number 6, Zijin. You have number so you have number 1, 5, 6, 7 here. Zijin, Newmont, AngloGold Ashanti, and Gold Fields. These are multinational. Some of them are even richer than us. You look at the market capitalization of Newmont, it's like half of our GDP. Newmont took $13.8 billion in 2023 to go and buy Newcrest in Australia, which is $200 million more than our total export in 2023. I cannot have an ordinary inspector at the mine. So I also have to take my inspectors to Colorado, Curtin, McGill, and Co. and let them work in the mines there and come here. So when Bright, for example, comes back in 3 years' time from the biggest gold complex in the world and he enters Newmont underground, he enters Golden Star underground, or he goes to Cardinal, the mining engineer there cannot bluff you. So that's what we are also doing by way of capacity building. I'll leave it there. And we are paying for this. Some are 100% scholarship, some are 50%, some are 20%, some we have to pay. And even I have some doing PhD, about 4 of them. So you go to Curtin University, for example, there's 16 engineers there. They all have 20% scholarship each. Minerals Commission is paying the other 80. We have to do that. Other than that, we'll be failing 35 million Ghanaians. So I'll leave it here.
So you see, thank you very much for plans that you have put in place to put capacity of the Minerals Commission. Let's come back to the licensing process. I know that you have timelines on your websites, but what steps are you taking to ensure that an application that has been made by a non-resident person or a foreign entity seeking to get a minerals right from your end is not delayed?
Fantastic question. We went online in 2002, and that has actually been a game changer for us. So, for example, if you talk about support services registration, the authorization that companies need to go and carry out a service or do a job at the mine, that one doesn't go to the minister. It's done at Minerals Commission here. We don't delay them at all. In fact, anybody, and that's my policy, anybody who lodges an application today, let's say if you want to register with Minerals Commission to do contract mining or let's say do drilling services, if you lodge an application today, typically if a company puts out a tender or a bid, one of the requirements is that you should be registered by Minerals Commission. Other than that, they will not accept it. All that you need, yes, that's it. Among the requirements, let's say Newmont, they decide that we're advertising for medical services. Okay, one of the requirements is that you should be registered by the Minerals Commission to provide medical services. I am saying, and I introduced this 2 years ago, if Newmont should advertise today that I want companies to come and man our medical services, and you lodge an application today, assuming the tender is closing even tomorrow or next week, typically we will not be able to process the application within a day or 2 or 3, because there are a lot of them. It's the fastest growing sector now in the mining sector, the support services. All that I need to do is to send you an email that you've lodged an application. It allows you to join the bid or put in a bid. You just have to print it and add it to your application, among other requirements from the mining company. They will accept it because I've had a meeting with the mining companies and they are aware. So that is one of the most innovative way I've been able to cut delays, especially in the over 300 or so companies growing every day that have been registered by Mincom to provide all the services you find on the local content list. So you don't need to wait for your registration. And even where you have gone ahead to win a contract and we have not gotten back to you yet, we will still allow you to give you an email to allow the company for you to allow you to work. And it's working very well. So in the support service sector, it's a success story. If you have a client who says his application is here and for that matter is delaying his work, let me know. An email to me or info, the problem is resolved. For the mining rights, I have done my part. Mine is to review and process. Today, we can process a small-scale license in a week. You understand that? And then we do the recommendation to minister. The delay typically over the years has been both at the Minerals Commission and the ministry. We have resolved our part by the introduction of technology. So there have been instances where we finish and it's still lying there. But the new government in their manifesto, for example, said that they will decentralize the licensing regime to the extent that very soon they'll change the law to allow the issuance of a mining license for small scale to be done by Minerals Commission. And I think that is the best news I've ever heard in the 40-year history of the Minerals Commission. So it means that when the district officer processes it and uploads it online, it could be granted by Minerals Commission. It doesn't even, I will not even have to worry myself. I can give that responsibility to the regional inspector of mines because they do the monitoring and compliance. So if you go and issue a license to somebody and then he breaks the rules, you have to be held accountable for it. So I think that once the law is amended to allow the grant of licenses, small scale, any Minerals Commission, that will solve a lot of problems. Remember, there are two aspects of it, the processing and the grant. Processing is still with us, grant is minister. So I have done my part. We have done our part by fast-tracking the process. As I said, support services is a success story. If you know of anybody who is listening to you, or you have a client who says his mining support service license is delaying, let me know. And for that matter, he's on the verge of losing a contract or a bid is about closing, and he has not been registered by Mincom, let me know. I'll just have to give him an email or I'll send an email to the mining company. He'll be allowed to take part in the bid or even start work. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Thank you very much. And I like your practicalness to some of these things. But I was wondering if we can, probably on your website, have a portal
to explain these things.
No, not in that respect, but a portal which allows people to originate applications from there without necessarily maybe sending an email or doing a walk-in, like an application.
Yes, yes. Applications are supposed to be online. If you come here with hard copies, we drive you away. Honestly, I don't even want to do that because it doesn't make a business case. So if you come with your whole pack, I ask you to go to my customer unit and then they do the registration and you upload it. So we have stopped accepting hard copies since January 2022. Those who don't know and they walk in, we just get them registered here and I'll do the upload for them. So that has been our success story for the past 2 years. So we don't accept hard copies applications. No.
So let me understand you. Are you saying that you have a portal which I can start an application without
Yes, even from your bedroom or washroom.
Okay, that's awesome.
Once you have access to internet, nobody will accept. If you bring a hard copy of an application to provide a particular service to be registered at Mincom, now we won't accept it. We'll just ask you, but because we are pro-business, we normally say go down there and then they look at it for you and upload it. And then it's sent and then we give you an opportunity when you start reviewing. We might even get back to you via email and tell you that some of the documents are meeting or bring additional information. That's it.
Okay.
I normally don't say go back. You understand that? And I just tell you, look, I'll call the boys there, then they do the online application for you. So I'm saying, let me repeat, any application by any person, home or abroad, to apply for any mineral right. Now you know what a mineral right is. Or to be registered to provide a particular service to the mining sector has to be done fully online. You walk in with hard copies, we will let you do it online. Here, or if you want to go and do it yourself, go and do it. Even payments are supposed to be done online.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's how the system has changed in the last 2 years.
That's quite progressive, and I'm happy you are
Very particular support service.
That's very progressive. So can we have much information as the cost involved in making applications?
So if you want to apply to be registered to provide support services, either category A or B, the application fee and processing is $750 CD equivalent. So the application fee is $250, processing is $500. Whether category A or B, I'll tell you the difference. And then you add all your requirements, SNIT, VAT registration, your business plan that has to follow the template, pay it online and upload it, what I just told you.
Okay.
Once we finish the registration, we say, okay, you are good to go. We'll issue you a letter to come and pay. It is $10,000. It's every year you have to pay that money, $10,000 CD equivalent, because it's not a joke to be giving registered to do contract mining. Those are millions of dollars. Then some are 6,000. The ones that are 6,000 is catering, security, and haulage. Okay. Again, you'll find a breakdown on our website. If you are struggling, let me know. I'll show you the link. It's all there. You just look for support services. The fees, everything. And the fees are anchored in law. They were not imposed by Martin Acey.
Okay.
It has to be done by Parliament. If we want to increase the fees, we have to go to Parliament. So all the fees we charge are
just to confirm, I want to understand that you talked about 750, which is breakdown into 250 and 500. Which one was that?
Just for 250 is the application fee. There are 4 basically, and then the processing is 500.
But is that total for general support services?
General support services, yes, whether class A or B, and also the same for even if you're applying for a prospecting license.
Okay. And you have the $10,000 for contract mining and
no contract mining. The $10,000 for most of the fees. Again, what I have to do is to, because there are so many services, what I have to do is to point you to the website where these things are.
That'd be quite helpful. Last time I was looking for such information, I didn't find that, and I gave the commissioner a ring, and I wasn't getting that information. So
I'll send you a link so that you can share to everybody who is online or who called into the program.
That'd be very helpful. All right, let's crack
Okay.
let's crack on. So in terms of transparency and accountability in recommending for an approval and lines, what factors do you consider?
Oh, so for example, the work program has a template. You have to follow that. The business plan, which must accompany an application to be registered to provide any support service, has a certain template. So you have to get your consultant, whatever, to do all that and submit it to us among the other requirements. Give me a second. Let me just dictate a few things to you.
Just a minute. That's fine.
So, for example, my support service registration. I'll be sending this to you. Don't worry. Company registration documents. It means you have to be locally incorporated in Ghana. You need a business plan that must follow our standard template. You have to have a VAT registration certificate. You have to have SNIT clearance certificate. I mean, these days, these things are done in a day or two. The system has changed. These days, 2-3 days, you can register a company.
That's correct.
Then you need a bank statement. A local bank, at least 6 months. Somebody, this is his first time, we know what to do. We can wait. CV of your key staff. Summary of annual reports over the last 3 years. Audited financial statement for the 3 years. And then a contract minor with a mineral rights holder. Some of the things are not a big deal. Again, I'll share this. So these are the requirements. So when you have all these things, you put them together in soft, go online, the government.gov, you pay the 750. You can pay it in cedis, and then upload all these documents. As soon as you submit it, you get an acknowledgement from the Minerals Commission. And if your documents are good, maximum 2 weeks or less, or a month, you should hear from us. There have been instances where we have issued registrations within a month, some 1 week. Other than that, the key problem lies in the business plan. Some don't follow the template, others do. So we get back to you with comments. Because, we will not question the SNIT clearance, tax clearance, VAT, the fact that you are a registered company. So the delay, more often than not, has to do with the business plan, where either it's not properly written, they don't follow the template, etc. But we'll raise a comment and get back to you and say, these are the issues, address them and get back to us. VAT certificate is VAT certificate. SNIT clearance is SNIT clearance. CV or key staff, yes. So those are standard things. You understand that the problem in the delay in the registration of the application has to do with the poorly written business plan. Occasionally we meet them. So when they come here, for example, we send them the template, and then they follow up, and we come here and ask them, look, this is what is expected. That is, but people do it very well, and there are several consultants in the industry who do these things. The newcomers, they come here, and then we take them through what a business plan is. And you don't need to walk in, because you can be in Kumasi, we can do it by phone.
So do you have that business plan template on your website?
They should be there. If you don't have it, I'll get it uploaded. They are there. Everything of us is online.
I think in the interest of promoting investment, I think there should be more information on that, because business plan is business plan, whether in UK, whether in New York, is the same model, the same thing that goes in there. So probably if you have any peculiar interest, I think that it should be on the website, so that prospective entities will have regards to that. My last question on the licensing bit is, do we still have mining leases which are available to be grabbed? Because I'm asking that question because when I compare mining sector to upstream petroleum sector, there's an open tender to get an oil block. So do we still have some mining leases available? Because I come from Prestea and I know that it's owned by one company.
Yeah, so one of the fundamental things in the mining sector, which is also common in oil and gas, I'm also a petroleum line, so I know this for a fact. is what we generally call farming. Even the big guys do JV. So there are so many companies that are looking for partners to bring them money to expand their operations, or give them money, they'll give you gold in return. You understand that? Or take royalty. I mean, there are all kinds of arrangements that are done. In the prospecting, what is common is farm in, farm out. So you pick up a prospecting license, you realize that, oh, I've done some pitting, trenching, but I'm struggling to raise money to do drilling. So somebody can bring in the money, either to give it to you, you do the work, he earns in, or he comes to do the work and earn in. So this by far from the lifeblood of the nature of the industry. So these are very common. There are still a lot of grounds that are available for people to apply for and prospect. But typically, if you're familiar with mining, a lot of people rather prefer to farm in or do JV. There is no way a mining lease will be lying down for you to come and take, unless it is the one that is cancelled. But for prospecting, there are still a lot of grounds that are available. But worldwide, the general practice is that you look for people who have started and farming. You see? But there are still grounds that are available. It's up to you to decide whether you want to get your own grounds or put in money in areas where people are already working, just to earn it and eventually buy him out or be a partner. But if I tell you that, oh, this is a mining lease, it's just lying there, come and pick it, that's a joke. You won't find that anywhere in the world. Prospecting, yes. Cancelled, or he's looking for partners, yes, but not a mining lease lying down there and waiting for you. You won't find that anywhere in the world. You can't go to UK, sorry, Canada, Australia, South Africa. They say, oh, this area, there's a mining lease, so come. No. Typically, either it has been cancelled, withdrawn, or it's been shut down or something. But to say government has prospected, here's a lease on it, and somebody can apply. No.
No. So what I'm trying to draw attention to is that trying to borrow from the upstream petroleum sector. Can we have a way where there's transparency for people to prospect and say that these areas are possible areas that we can have a minerals in there? So we are opening up an option for people to get a license for prospecting. Is this something we can consider?
The law makes provision for it. But you see, nobody will put in his money and come and look at a place and prospect when there's no data. Data is everything. Data is everything. So nothing stops anybody. I mean, it will be foolhardy or foolish on our part to get up and say this area of Ghana, come and do auction. Or come, tender, people should apply. We won't do that if there's no data. And that has been our problem. So you allow foreigners to come and do prospecting, which is very expensive and risky.
So when
there's no way Minerals Commission will get up and say, I'm doing an auction here. Where is the data to back it?
Yeah, so possibly to be more progressive, we may have to consider getting data on our
and that's millions of dollars, and government will have to get that money for geological survey.
Because when I look at the architecture of the mine that we have, we don't have any Ghanaian owned nothing. I mean, we have carry.
We have. Don't make that mistake. The whole of Ghana Bauxite Concession is owned by a Ghanaian.
Yeah, that's more recent. That's more recent.
So be careful as a lawyer. Be careful with your language.
Anyway,
if you do, that's 2 years ago. If you say there's no Ghanaian that owned the last K mine, you are mistaken.
Nah,
that's what you said.
Okay.
If you say, oh, it is not something to write home about, that's a different matter.
Okay, so I'll say it's nothing to write home about.
Yes. So the avowed policy of the government is to indigenize the sector.
Okay.
Yes. So you now see indigenization, being pursued strongly by government. So for example, you take Ashanti Gold, close to a little over 40% of the interest in Ashanti is both state and Ghanaian owned. So if you watch carefully, you see that many of the policies we are pushing now is the drive towards indigenization. That is not to say we are anti-foreign. You go to Chile, Codelco is a state-owned mine. It's as if side by side the BHPs and co.
We'll have that conversation later on the local content.
Okay.
Let me pick up some questions in the chat box. So someone's asking, will Mineral Commission rate their consultative process with foreign companies may suffer from new goods and services placed on the local content list? And what are the timeline for these foreign companies to make adjustments and prepare for transition? I think let me ask my questions on local content first, then you can add this to that. This one, when we had an informal chat, you talked about the procurement list. Can you give us insight as to how that list come about and what are the general classifications that have been put on that list?
Typically, what happens is that, as I said, we have the power to review the list every year, either add to or reduce. And we now have the 6th edition. We started with the first edition, 2014, second edition, 2015, third edition, 2018, fourth edition, 2022, fifth edition, 2023, and then 6th edition, 2025. Typically, what we do is that, per our research, we get convinced that maybe there are certain types of services or goods that there is capacity in Ghana in terms of production, quality, everything. So we think we are not in a position to allow foreigners to do them. That is settled. So when that happens, we put it on the list and say that this service will not allow foreigners to do it. Typical example, if anybody wants to give out a contract mining for a surface or open pit operations, you have to give it to a Ghanaian contractor registered to do so with Mincom. Medical services. I mean, what is all this that you have the first scale, last scale, commercial mine 1897, 120-something years still counting, and then you allow foreigners to come in, set up fuel stations at the mine and supply fuel. I found that very insulting. So we stopped that. And then we said that henceforth, the year we stop, any mining company that wants to give a contract to a company to supply fuel, it has to go to a Ghanaian. Same for security. Because you see, some of the things on other that you allow foreigners to come in and don't bring foreigners to come and do the work. So then why do you allow foreigners to do it? I've mentioned a few. I mean, fuel, 1957 independence, fuel supply, which is almost about 300-400 million. You don't owe the mine, as you are saying, and you want foreigners to also come and set up fuel stations, what we call in Ghana, filling stations, to supply fuel at the mine. That must be a joke. If you go anywhere in the world, they have what they call areas that they are protecting for their citizens. How come that US, particularly Canada, is asking all the companies there to divest Chinese interests from companies that are exploring or mining critical minerals? Okay, so there are certain things. Russia, you cannot apply for a license to go and mine or explore for uranium. It's seen as strategic. So we have also decided, but of course we are not stupid. Well, we don't have capacity, we will admit, we won't do it. So our job at Minerals Commission is to see where there is capacity, and if there is no monopoly, if we have about 4, 5 or more that can do it, we stopped it. And then we say these areas for Ghanaians. Yeah. Where there's no capacity, we open it and encourage Ghanaians to develop themselves. And there are some areas where we can say the only way you can build capacity is to preserve some quota for Ghanaians. So if you look at the list, we have the ones that are open, like for now, explosives open, grinding media and co. Then there are areas that are strictly restricted for Ghanaians, and then there are areas where you have to do a JV. And that's what we've been doing. Now, when the list is prepared, we send it to the Chamber of Mines and hold meetings with them. Now, there are 3 things that normally comes out of that meeting. For example, this 6th edition that was published in January, where people are talking over and saying that there was no consultation, there was no consultation, it's a lie. We started consulting them since July. The meetings were held in my boardroom here, severally. All the companies, they came. Okay? And what we'll do is that some of the things we agree, they come and say, this one we have no problem, we let go. Even some of the things they suggest them. So when we sent the list to them, they wrote back with comment, oh, this we are okay. This, hold on for a while. And when they came, they made their point, we agreed. So some of the things that are not in the 6th edition, it's not just because we didn't put it there, because Chamber and the regulator has agreed that these ones, let's do 1 or 2 things. Others, we agree that this one we concede. And we also don't have to agree consultation does not mean agreeing. That's a mistake some people are making since we started doing this thing. So when we wanted to introduce TSF, that is Tailings Storage Facility, and we said that no more foreign people constructing it, industry had a different view. We said, no, we disagree with you. We put it on the list, 2023. Because I don't understand. Takwa, which until recently was the biggest gold mine, the TSF was built by a Ghanaian, engineers and planners. The same person built Daman. Today, if you go to Cardinal, that new mine that was commissioned that year, the nearly $40 million TSF was built by a Ghanaian. Cardinal says it is world class. If we are not done that, Chinese will have to come and do it because the mine was originally owned by Australians, sold to Chinese. So I have about 10 plus Ghanaians who can do TSF. Why should I allow companies from Australia, South Africa to come and do it? In South Africa, they will not allow you. So why should we allow that? Then how do you build your industry? Medical supplies, facilities, we put it on it. Okay, so if you take TSF, for example, we say construction and management must be done by Ghanaians. Design is a different thing. Even today, I even have engineers of record, Ghanaians. The engineer of record at Cardinal, that big man, is a Ghanaian who used to work for Knight Piso. So what informs what should go on the list, what should be preserved for Ghanaians, whether you should have quota, an outright preservation, or 100% preservation, call it that way, or open it for everybody, foreign Ghanaians alike, is informed by research and the capacity we have. So you realize that over the years, we keep adding. We keep, some were quotas, now it's 100%. Some is still, if you like, open or free for all, because we don't have the capacity. Now, in the area of manufacturing, we are very slow, because after all, we are also convinced that what we want is a job. So come and set up here. So B5 Plus that are into this steel and all those, they've been here for years on this Pampram or Dodowa road. It's an Indian company. It will be foolhardy to get up and say today, why you engineering, who is Ghanaian can do it, so get up and go. How can you allow somebody to come in, bring his millions of dollars, set up a manufacturing plant, and because you now have 4 or 5 Ghanaians who are capable of doing, you ask them to leave. So manufacturing, we are very careful, because indigenization, local content does not necessarily mean 100% ownership. It also means they should come and do it here and employ Ghanaians and pay tax and stop importing. So manufacturing, we are very careful. When you come and set up here and want to do it, hallelujah. So we will hardly restrict the manufacturing aspect, because we are careful about quality and supply chain. So this is the message out there. There's no way I'll get up today and say we have bioengineering and other guys who can fabricate. So B5 Plus, pack and go. They've been here for years. They've employed Ghanaians. So this is what we do. Yeah. So the 6th edition industry was fully consulted. They were aware. And let me repeat, consultation does not mean agreeing. We agreed to some of the things. When they made their points forcefully, we dropped it. Some we disagree and we put in there. So for the past 2 years, no mining company has come to complain to Minerals Commission or me, Marty, that the Ghanaian companies are not doing well when it comes to medical services. Because in 2003, December, Golden Star ended their contract with a foreign company. A group of Ghanaian doctors came together, got a contract, because 2003, we put medical services on it. 2 years on, the whole of 2023 and 2024, the medical services of a huge mine underground workings is run by a Ghanaian doctor and his colleagues. I have not received a complaint. Gama will say, Kabashin Mene. Nobody has come to complain to me that for 2 years, the medical company that is providing medical services on site to Golden Star, with close to about 2,000 workers, is falling short of the foreign company it replaced. That's how far we've come, to you folks.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting one. I'm interested in, for those folks who have been around for quite a long time, and we have brought in this regulation, did we consider the accrued rights and the law? Because I heard you mention it, fuel supply. When I was growing up as a young man, I know they had Total, they had Shell, the mobile and stuff like that. So if you're restricting for supply, did we consider their interest?
Yes, Total has not been taken out from Ghana. The retail sector is there. They are still around. At the time this rule was brought, I think 2022 or 2021, they said they had 4,000 workers. They are listed on the stock exchange. But we said no. In the mind, we want to preserve it for Ghanaians. So typically what we'll do is that when the rule is changed, contracts that were in existence for whatever reason will fall foul of the new rule are grandfathered. So for example, if you have a fuel contract and at the time that we introduced that, we say, okay, nobody can do item A unless you're a Ghanaian company and your contract has 6 months or 1 year to go, we'll still allow you to run. That's what we do. So, for example, Newmont Underground, it was being run by an Australian company. We changed the rule and said, do a JV. They came back to us and said, look, it takes time to do contracts and all those. And I said, okay, can you give us up to September to comply? I said, okay, I give them up to December. Today, it is a JV between a Ghanaian Rockshore and an Australian company. So when there's a contract, even if it's 2 years, we allow you to run if the rule is changed. So if item X is free for all, let's say you have company X supplying explosive to another company, and for whatever reason we decide today that explosive should be done by Ghanaians. If you have a 2-year contract, we'll allow you to run. Nobody worry you.
Are we not by our procurement list, which is at the discretion of the Minerals Commission and it's not being prescribed by Parliament, allowing room for manipulation?
No, prescribed by Parliament. That authority came from Parliament.
Yes, I get your point. But the authority is vested in you to make a decision.
Yes.
It is not like Parliament has, because then from what I said, I think that it will lend itself to what we call rent seeking. People will then be able to influence what goes on the list. And I think
no, you'll be stupid. And trust me, the most heavily regulated area in Ghana is mining. It is not a joke. I don't know whether you have been to a mine before. It will take Holy Spirit for someone like you, for me to let you go inside underground. It's heavily regulated. Slightest mistake, there'll be accident. So we are concerned about quality. We will never introduce anything, any rule, simply because we want to indigenize when they don't meet the quality. You understand? I mean, grinding media, steel balls, you force people to do it locally here, and you start destroying the mills of companies. We don't do that. As I said, almost all the new things you have introduced to preserve for Ghanaians, I'm here to receive a report from any mining company as I speak to you to say that this Ghanaian is falling short. Accidents are a different ballgame altogether. So we are concerned about health and safety. Sometimes they raise it when we're having meetings. And so can you delay on this bit, etc. Sometimes they even tell us we are shocked that you have not even introduced it because Ghanaians have capacity. Like when I was introducing the 4th edition, the 4 things that industry wrote back and said, oh, they don't have any comment on it. Say, Martin, in fact, we thought this is even long overdue. You should have introduced this 2-3 years ago. I said, no problem. So many of the items even on the list even comes from industry themselves. They said, no, we have been working with the mining companies. We are satisfied. There are about 8 companies in this doing this particular thing or in this space. They're all good, restrict it. They tell us. The four that are put on, for instance, came from them. They said, no, we don't have any problem. They didn't have a comment. They didn't kick against it. Their comment was that industry has no objection on these things that are introduced. Why is it that they didn't have an objection? It means they accept and recognize the fact that over the years, what has been free for all that we now want to restrict solely to Ghanaians, the players there are okay. They'll be the first to raise quality. Okay, and I've been around for 22 years, so we are very careful. Why do I want to wake up every day and there are accidents? You know what it means that the steel boss will create problems in his processing plant? It's like having a house without a toilet.
Yes, I'm not talking about the health and safety bed. I've been privileged to be an auditor. I used to audit AngloGold Aduaprem. I used to work for Moonman at the time when they were doing that for Aduaprem as well. I was born in Prestia. which is a mine town. So I'm very much aware of that. My concern is about the services that get on the list and how we do that and how it promotes investment. Because if you curtail certain services, some people have an accrued right, some people have been there before. So probably my thinking that we should balance it. We should be balancing, and there should proper.
And I've just arranged. I've just explained that to you. For manufacturing, it's not an issue. Manufacturing is not an issue. A particular service, what we'll tell you is that when your contract runs out, pack and leave. But to say, oh, you have 2 years to go on your contract, there's this new rule for Ghanaians, so pack and go. No, he has to break his contract and he has to be sued by the company, will be sued by that company that gave him the contract. We don't want that. That's not what you do. And then he'll treat it as a cost which will affect revenue. So your contract will just run out and go. I mean, when the Canadians got up and said, all the prospecting licenses that you have Chinese investment get out for strategic regions, nobody talked. So, and you can't tell me that if it's okay for the developed country, it shouldn't be okay for us. The same gold that is produced in Canada, the same gold that is produced in Canada. So if Canada makes a rule now and say no Chinese company should be allowed to invest in critical minerals, those that are there divest. And Australia says all Chinese investment, because I started my PhD in Australia, will have to go to the Foreign Review Board. They are doing that for what? Their interest. When Canadian government, I was then in Calgary studying natural resources, or blocked Potas Corporation from being taken over. They were looking at strategic interests. So this idea that you are a developing country, perhaps you are poor, you go to this guy, so you shouldn't have an interest, I find it very insulting. I'm not talking about you. So if we get up, and again, let me say this, we don't just get up and do things for the fun of it. How can I get up and say, this is preserved for Ghanaians? Then the following day, the companies come with complaints, oh, quality is poor, we are having accident, we have to shut our processing plant because the steel balls that the Ghanaians are producing, they are not as good as the one from China or India. I mean, that is it. And we consult them, and as I said, consultation doesn't mean we should agree. Nobody has come to us to tell us that, oh, you have destroyed our contract and all those things. No. I mean, at a point in time, the state interest must also prevail. That is it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
And it's done everywhere. I mean, what are we hearing now? American first?
Let me just allow someone's hand is up. I think Bismarck. I'll give it the floor. Bismarck, can you hear us? Bismarck, you can unmute and ask a question. Bismarck. Okay, then Faisal, can you hear me? Please unmute and ask a question. Please unmute. Shaggy, can I get some support? It looks like people cannot unmute themselves.
Sure, 1 second.
Get support on that, please. All right, so let me start some questions. There's a question about how does the proposed gold change the trading and export gold from Ghana? How does?
Oh, hello.
Hello, Bismarck. I can hear you.
Yeah, so let me. Then I was not mute. I was on mute. That's why I was muted. Thank you, Mr. Isi, for the insights. I'm very grateful for the tough education and the in-depth discussion. I have 3 questions, but one will be the last one is how best ahead of the business training you people do. You said you do at Minecom for new people who wanted to learn it. I'm very interested, and that is my 3rd one that I would like to join. But my first question relates to the compliance that we are talking about. In relation to your compliance, you spoke about both the administrative and other aspects. I was looking at, with the mining concessions that you have given to both the large scales, the small scales, how many of them compliance in relation to the workman compensations that they pay to some of their workers? And these issues have come up. And the second one relating to after reclamation of community, after reclamation of the mining, and then in that community, after 5 years, does the Mineral Commission go back to check whether after 5 years there will be any health issues relating to the people in that community, because that's also related to compliance. So if we could do that, so that at the end of the year, we will not get people.
Give me a few.
The first one relating to the business training that you provide for the consultants, those who want to learn new.
Yes.
As I said, I'm interested in that one. So when you start, I would like to join.
So let me have your contacts. Theo and Shaggy can send your email to you. My email to you, can send me an email, and you don't necessarily have to wait for the training.
Okay.
We can send emails, and I can ask you to come over and get a full briefing one-on-one from the schedule officers here.
Okay. So can I get the email?
Martin.ic.
Martin.ic. Okay.
Martin.ic at mincom.gov.gh.
At mincom.gov.gh.
You know, that GH.
Okay.
So you can send me an email and I can arrange that for you.
All right. So my main question goes to the compliance in relation to the workman compensation.
Yes.
Relating to the mining sector, there have been a lot of complaints coming out in relation to the workman compensations, which I have heard from few people. But in relation to the Mineral Commission, how exactly are you able to get information in relation to the compliance level, and whether there is a mode that some of these workers are able to report their issues to the Mineral Commissions? And then the second one relates to after reclamation, for instance, for 5 years, does the Mineral Commission try to find out from that locality or community where this mining was done before the reclamation, whether there is any other health issues that come up after the 5 years? And if there is a track record of this done after for the past 10 years, what has been the issue that you have gotten in relation to health? If there is, then we know that. If there isn't, then we realize that, well, compliance level has been up to this level. In relation to documentation, yes, we are going to compliance aspects, but we are also looking at outside of administrative aspects. What do you elaborate on that aspect? Thank you.
Typically, when it comes to the workman compensation, it is purely the workers and the company staff. And trust me, the Mine Workers Union, which is their union, is so strong. It has one of the strongest. So they normally deal with that. We only get to know if there is a problem in a particular area or a particular company or some group of people have complained. And then the Mine Workers Union sometimes bring this to our attention, or we get a petition from some group of people. Like there was a recent one somewhere 2 years ago or so. If a particular company are not doing it, I don't need to disclose. And then we call them and then try to intervene. But to the extent that we have not received anything, it's fine because the union will take it up. The unions are quite strong, very. The Mine Workers Union are very strong. So the issue of compensation or workmen compensation and all those, the unions do that. They do all those negotiations and then showing that if there's compensation, they receive them on behalf of the people who might have a case. So that's my answer on that. Yes, the other one, the mining companies are post-bond. If I sit here now and tell you that everything is 100% okay, I'm lying to you. Even some of the great mining disasters happening in the so-called developed world, like Mount Poly in Canada or Brumadinho in Brazil, that mine jointly run by Vale and BHP. But practically almost of the last case, guys have posted bond, and the bonds are enforced strictly. Some are running to millions of dollars. I mean, you'd be surprised some of the bonds are even 300 million, 400 million dollars, depending on the nature and scale of operation. The problem and the complaints you normally hear from are the ones that are involved in illegality. Like Theo said, he was born in Prestia. You know, many of the distractions that we see here are either from illegal miners, small scale, or some of the large scale people who get into this illegality without having all the full papers and all those things. So that's what I can say. I have not gone back to go and do any tests in an area where there has been, because see, before mine closure, you have to make sure that everything is okay. There's one successful case we know in our history. I think Resolute Mining. After mining, they closed, and it's one of the best to the extent that all the facilities have been returned to government. It's not even a part of the university there, the Anglican University. But then it turns out that there's gold there again. So another company has come back and has come to take over all over the place, and even has taken over those structures again and saying they'll build a new one and leave it for the university where they are going. Because at the time they were shutting down, the price of gold was around $300, $400, $500. Now you're talking about almost 3,000 or over 2,900. So that is it. Yeah, I can't sit here and lie to you and say we have gone back to go and check anything. No.
All right, thank you.
Pfizer, you can ask a question. His question about was about the gold board also. How is it going to change trading of gold exports, trading and gold exports from Ghana?
Oh, if you ask me right now, it's a legal framework as to how it will work that is being discussed. Minas Commission serves on the committee. There's, I think, about an 18-man or member committee that is looking at that from all stakeholders. Currently, they are doing stakeholders. So, Minas Commission in there, I serve on it. One of my lawyers is serving on it, and one of my mining engineers. So it's not done yet. It's not been completed yet. They are getting comments and they are fine-tuning and shaping things. But essentially, from the look of things, it will take over the role of PMC, and then it will end up buying almost all the gold and exporting same for small scale. That's what I know for now. But let's see how the comments will shape what will eventually come out as, if you like, the bill which will go to Parliament. But that is it. That's what they are going to do. People have raised a few concerns about whether or not some of the things they can do it, or whether or not they are not being given certain responsibilities that affect other things. And I mean, those things are being cleaned up. That's it. If you can't introduce something that will take away the powers of the Minerals Commission, no, we'll flag it, and those things are well known. So for now, they are doing consultations and public hearing to get people's views before they finalize the bill. But essentially, that's what it's supposed to do, you know. So what it simply means is that those who are current small scale, who have license to export gold now, will still keep their job and still buy, but then they have to sell to, we call them aggregators. They still have to sell to the gold board. So it's early days yet. Let me put it that way.
Okay. I have some few questions.
And typically when bills like this come out, even if they've not done the bill yet, when things like this come out, people say all kinds of things. I remember the initial bill on Giadeg and Gizdeg. They were terrible. But eventually, by the time it went through Parliament and what we have now, I realized that all the issues that were raised were cleaned up. If you look at the original bill of Giadeg and Gizdeg, you see that, so when I hear this noise about Goldberg, I say, you guys hold it. Nothing has been formalized properly yet. It's still consultations and discussions. You have to finish now, come back with a proper final draft, take it to AG. AG itself will raise issues. Go to cabinet, parliament. Parliament is also a whole institution now to discuss all this. So eventually, whatever will come out to take care of all these issues people are raising, though some of them legitimate, some of them as matters of law, and some of them is just matters of policy. And also people are also talking about things they don't understand.
Okay, we need to wrap up. So let's go on Galamsey. I mean, Galamsey is still ongoing. What is the update from the commission? What you're doing to ensure that we have cleaner environment? I have my own view.
I also have my own view. I don't give any license to anybody to go and work in the water body. It's not law.
Yes.
So if people go into the water body, it's up to the appropriate state agencies to go and flash them out. So when I hear people blaming Minerals Commission for Galamsey, I just laugh because you now even see armed people, guns all over the place, and you expect me to send a poor inspector to go and do what do you want me to do? His job is to pick up evidence of Galamsey or somewhere and report to the appropriate authorities. If you have people who are holding guns and they are working in areas that we have not given licenses to, it's up to them to go and do that. The ones that have been given license are not doing the right thing, that you can take me on, or you can take us on. But if somebody enters a water body to go and do galamsey, what has that got to do with Minerals Commission? If somebody enters a forest, as we are hearing that there are 9 forests that totally have been taken over by armed guns, it's up to the state to deploy the appropriate security architecture to go and flash them out, which I believe government will do very soon. You understand that? I mean, if Forestry Commission tells you that their guns can only fire 100 meters, and then the guns being held by the so-called intruders can fire 300, what does it mean? It means that they have to be better equipped. If you want to get places for small-scale miners to work, it means you have to do geological investigation. So you have to give money to geological survey and hire more geologists to do the work. And what I'm seeing in the policies being rolled so far, it's very instructive. For example, if you look at the manifesto of NPP NDC during the last election, never in my 20-something year history have I seen that being an issue. Okay? It tells you that all these years they were listening and paying attention to the fact that geological investigation is a key. Is a key to resolving this galamsey issue. And among others, like punishing people. You know, you see the Chinese, you still arrest them. They should be going to jail. The poor guy there, you think he can afford a 270,000 excavator? Somebody must be behind. So the issue is just beyond Minerals Commission. We can discuss whether or not those who have been given licenses are doing the right thing. That you can take us on.
Sure.
But if somebody goes to the water body, what goes to offing, what do you expect me to do than to report it?
Should we probably relook at the definition of what galamsey? Because I hear you talking about people going to water bodies. Do you think it's about time we redefine what galamsey is?
No, galamsey is galamsey. I mean, initially it's a corrupted term from the word gather and sell. And in the local parlance also, it is explained to mean, oh, you just go up there and go and dig some stuff and get some gold and sell without having the appropriate authorization or permits. But now it has been broadened to basically encompass the term where you are digging for gold without a license. It doesn't matter whether it's large scale or small scale. Now they are even accusing some of the large scale people as doing galamsey. So if you have a prospecting license, you're supposed to prospect. And you instead of doing pitting or trenching, you end up deploying some device that looks like you are mining. We will know anyway, because a mining engineer is a mining engineer. That's galamsey. So we've gone beyond this accepted term of being these local guys who are doing koli somewhere to basically a broad term to include anybody who is not doing the right thing. That's it. So, I mean, the term is illegal mining, that's all. Galamsey is just a term peculiar to Ghana, like the way it says Amazama. Their illegal mining is different, where people have invaded the so-called disused shafts. That is it. We also have disused shafts there. But trust me, if we had a South African type of issue, would not be. I always criticize them and say they are responsible for their own galamsey. I mean, you have disused shafts that contain gold and you cannot license it. You talk about it, they say a country within a country. What nonsense. I tell them all the time.
So my final question, and I will not do, I'll do the people of Prestea a disservice if I don't ask this question. It borders on FGR and heat. The mining site has been abandoned because they got a new the lease been assigned to a different person, a different entity called Heat, and I think there's probably a court issue. Is there any role that Minerals Commission is playing in ensuring that the mine is not abandoned and people do not go and cause mayhem on the mining sites?
If you ask me, it has not been abandoned. As we speak, there are soldiers there who are being paid by the government to maintain law and order. Any mining going on? No. The owners that were there couldn't meet the terms and conditions, so the lease was cancelled. It's been given to a new entity, so they are going through a certain process, and very soon the life will bounce back. So the place has not been abandoned. There are soldiers there. It is people rather who want to do galamsey.
I would crave the indulgence of the Minerals Commission because the people who work there have paid for more than 12 months. So
They've been what?
they've not been paid for 12 months.
Oh, okay. I'm aware.
So if
Well, a new company has taken over, so they are in the process of bringing life back to the place, and mining takes time to get things done.
all right.
It is for the very reason that's why the license was taken away. And in fact, the previous people couldn't even pay people. They couldn't even pay their fees to Minerals Commission.
Mr. Isi, I'm very grateful for
I'm also grateful.
such insightful conversation. We'll look out for the follow-up documentation so that we can share with the people, my colleagues on the call. So we have of the board of the UKGCC, on behalf of my colleagues, Jocelyn, Shege, Sarah Adelaide, I'm very grateful for the technical support, and also from WTS Noblesville's Rosemary Romina Jonah Bachman and Na Akushika Enu. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you, and have a great day. Thank you everyone for joining us.